All right, so are you ready to dive into this rubber goods assembler interview prep? You got that interview coming up, and I know you're looking to really impress.
It's funny.
We got all sorts of resources here, like guides. We even have real interview questions
Yeah.
and some AI magic to help you nail it.
What's really interesting about this role is I think a lot of people think it's just putting things together, but there's so much more to it. I
Right.
mean, you're talking precision, craftsmanship.
Yeah.
You're really going to be a key part of creating all sorts of different products that are used in so many industries. Like the attention to detail required is crucial.
Okay, so before we jump into the questions, I want to touch on something from the Rubber Goods Assembler Career Guide.
Okay.
It mentions that this industry is actually on the rise, especially in construction, automotive, and even healthcare.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sectors using rubber goods,
Huge.
which means job security could be pretty good, right?
Absolutely. And what I think is really cool is that as you gain experience, you can move up. The guide talks about moving up to supervisor roles, quality control, even product development.
So you're saying I could go from assembling
Yeah,
parts to designing the next generation of tires.
totally.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a whole career path, not just a job.
For now, let's focus on getting through this interview. You ready for some questions?
Bring them on.
All right, first up, describe a time you had to pay close attention to detail. This one comes up in a lot of interviews,
Yeah.
but it's especially relevant here.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, they want to see that you're someone who's meticulous, that you
Yeah.
can focus, that you can spot inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Think about a time that you had to be super precise, maybe at a previous job or even a hobby.
So if I spent hours meticulously building a model airplane as a kid,
Totally.
that counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You described the task, why it required such attention to detail, and the steps that you took to ensure accuracy.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people make the mistake of just kind of like claiming things, but they're really looking for evidence.
Evidence, not just claims.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Now, what if they follow up with, how do you stay focused when doing repetitive tasks? Because, let's face it,
Right.
assembly work
I mean,
can involve some repetition.
that's a great question. And it's really about showcasing what strategies you use.
Right.
Maybe you break down tasks into small chunks, you set mini goals, or you have little mental exercises you do to stay engaged.
So, finding ways to make those
Exactly.
repetitive tasks feel less
Yeah,
monotonous.
exactly. And that's a really valuable skill for any assembler.
Right.
Now, this next question is a bit trickier. Tell me about a time you had to follow specific instructions to complete a task.
I feel like this sounds pretty straightforward,
Right.
but I bet there's more to it than just saying I followed the recipe when I baked a cake.
They're looking for an example that really highlights accuracy and adherence to guidelines,
Right.
especially in a work context. So think of a time when following instructions precisely was super critical for either safety or quality.
So if I worked in a lab and had to follow a strict protocol for handling chemicals,
Perfect example.
that would be a good one.
Absolutely. You could talk about the complexity of the instructions, the potential consequences of errors, and then the steps that you took to make sure that you executed everything perfectly.
Okay, I'm getting the hang of this.
Good.
Now, what about a question like, how do you handle a situation where you notice a defect in a product you've assembled? This feels
Yeah.
very specific to the role.
This is about your quality control awareness
Hmm.
and your commitment to producing top-notch products.
So would it be enough to just say, I would report it immediately?
It's a good starting point, but go further.
Okay.
Describe the specific steps you would take. Stopping production, notifying a supervisor,
Right,
documenting the defect.
right.
So really emphasize your commitment to ensuring that only perfect products move forward. It's like showing them you're not just assembling parts.
Total.
You're a guardian of quality.
You got it.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident already.
I love it. And speaking of confidence, have you heard of RoleCatcher?
I've heard the name,
Okay.
but I don't know much about it.
So it's this really cool AI tool
Okay.
that can help you prep for these types of questions.
Oh, cool. How does it work?
So it analyzes job descriptions like this one for the rubber goods assembler role, and then it compares it to your CV.
Oh, cool.
And that way it can pinpoint any skills gaps you might have, and then it suggests ways that you can address them in your application and interview responses.
So it's like having a personalized coach.
Totally.
Helping you tailor your answers.
Exactly. And it even has this really cool co-pilot feature
Oh, wow.
that gives you AI-powered feedback on your video practice sessions.
Seriously.
It analyzes your delivery, your content. It's like having an expert eye help you refine your answers for each specific job.
Wow, that sounds incredibly helpful. I'm definitely going to check it out. I think you'll really like it.
Now let's get back to those interview questions.
Okay, sounds good.
What about this one? Can you describe your experience working with hand tools and machinery? This seems pretty straightforward.
It is, but it's also a chance to showcase your technical skills.
Okay.
Don't just list the tools you've used. Give specific examples of projects where you used them effectively.
Got it.
Really demonstrate a deeper understanding of their application.
So instead of saying, I've used a screwdriver, I could say, like, in my previous role, I used a screwdriver to assemble components for electronic devices, ensuring each screw is tightened to the correct torque. Yeah.
Perfect. That level of detail shows you know what you're talking about.
Gotcha.
You're not just throwing around technical terms.
Now, what if they ask, are you comfortable working with new tools or machinery?
This is your opportunity to demonstrate adaptability and willingness to learn.
Right.
Emphasize your eagerness to expand your skill set and your ability to grasp new concepts quickly.
So something like, I'm a fast learner, and I'm always eager to learn new skills. I'm comfortable referring to manuals or seeking guidance from experienced colleagues when working with unfamiliar tools.
Perfect. Highlight your positive attitude and your commitment to continuous learning.
Got it.
It shows you're not afraid to embrace new challenges.
Okay, time for another question.
Okay.
Describe a time you worked effectively as part of a team to achieve a common goal. Teamwork is essential in any production environment, right?
Absolutely. The interviewer wants to see that you can collaborate, communicate effectively, and contribute to shared objectives.
So I should pick a situation where I played a key role in a team's success.
Yeah.
Describe my specific contributions, highlight how we worked together to achieve the goal.
Exactly. And remember to emphasize the positive impact of your teamwork on the outcome.
Okay.
Did you meet a deadline? Did you exceed expectations? Did you solve a really tricky problem? Share those details.
This is making me think back to my time on the soccer team in high school.
Yes, sir.
Lots of teamwork there.
Exactly.
And what about those curveball questions like, how would you handle a conflict with a teammate? Because let's face it, conflicts happen.
They do. And how you handle them is key.
Right.
The interviewer wants to see your conflict resolution skills and your ability to maintain a positive work environment.
So should I just say I would avoid conflict at all costs?
Not quite. It's about approaching conflict constructively.
Right.
You could say something like, I believe in addressing conflicts directly and respectfully.
Okay.
I would first try to understand my teammates' perspective, then communicate my own viewpoint while being open to a compromise that benefits the team.
That makes sense. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's about managing it effectively.
Got it.
Okay. One more question before we wrap up this first part.
Right.
Tell me about a time you had to solve a problem in a creative way.
Ah.
This one's all about thinking outside the box.
Right. Exactly. So as a rubber goods assembler, you might encounter situations where the standard procedure doesn't quite fit and you need to find a workaround.
Got it.
So this is them trying to figure out
Okay.
how you think on your feet.
So I should choose a situation where I identified a problem, analyzed it, came up with an innovative solution, and a real-world example is always good.
Always. Always. The more specific and detailed your example, the better.
Okay, I'm already starting to feel more prepared just hearing these tips.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And remember, we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
There are so many more questions and insights to explore.
We'll be back with more in part 2.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we jump into more of these interview questions, I want to touch on something that we mentioned earlier about the growth potential in this field.
Yes, the Rubber Goods Assembler Career Guide paints a pretty optimistic picture.
Yeah.
It even says that the global rubber goods market is expected to reach like $400 billion by 2028.
I know, it's huge.
That's huge.
And that growth translates into opportunities.
Right.
For you, so remember how we were talking about moving up to supervisor roles? Well, the guide actually has profiles of people who started as assemblers and are now managing teams, overseeing production lines, ensuring quality standards are met.
So there's like a real chance to climb the ladder in this industry.
Oh, absolutely.
That's encouraging.
Now let's get back to those interview questions. So they might ask you something like, why are you interested in this particular role?
Okay, this one seems pretty basic,
Yeah,
but I bet there's a right and a wrong way to answer it.
you're right. It's not just about stating your interest. It's about connecting your skills and passions to the specific responsibilities of the role
Yo.
and the company itself.
So instead of just saying, I like working with my hands,
Right.
I should dig deeper into what excites me about rubber goods assembly.
Exactly.
Maybe mention something specific about the company's products or values that resonate with me.
Yeah, do your research on the company beforehand. What kind of products do they make? What is their reputation in the industry?
Right.
Weaving those details into your answer shows genuine interest.
Got it. Now, what about the classic strengths question? What are your strengths?
So here's where you highlight what makes you a great fit for this role. So remember all those core skills that we've been talking about. Dexterity, focus, quality awareness, problem solving.
Right.
Frame those as strengths and provide a brief example to illustrate each one.
So instead of just saying I'm detail-oriented, I could say, one of my strengths is attention to detail. In my previous role as a barista, I had to memorize complex drink recipes and prepare each order with precision.
Perfect. You're not just telling them, you're showing them.
Okay, now I know what's coming next, the dreaded weakness question.
Oh, yeah.
What are your weaknesses?
The big one.
Is there any way to answer this without sounding like I'm making things up?
Honesty is key. But choose a weakness that is real, manageable, and something that you are actively working to improve. For example, if you tend to get hyper-focus on individual tasks and sometimes miss the bigger picture, that's something you can mention.
But it's not enough to just admit it. I need to show how I'm addressing it.
You could say something like, I'm aware that I sometimes get too focused on the details to address this. I've been making a conscious effort to step back, communicate more with my team, and seek feedback to ensure I'm aligned with the overall goals.
Okay, that sounds way better than just saying I'm a perfectionist, which everyone knows is just a humble brag.
Totally.
Now, they might ask about your career aspirations.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, the 5-year plan.
This is my chance to show ambition and a desire to grow.
Right.
So should I just lay out my grand plan to become CEO?
Well, ambition is good, but keep it realistic and relevant to the company. So remember the career progression that we talked about.
Yeah.
Maybe you see yourself taking on more responsibility, leading a team, or specializing in a particular area of rubber goods assembly.
So something like, in 5 years, I hope to have mastered the technical skills of this role and be contributing to the team at a higher level, potentially taking on a leadership position.
That's great. It shows that you're thinking long-term and you see this role as a stepping stone. Now they might follow up with, what are you doing to achieve those goals?
Okay, so this is where I mention any courses I'm taking, certifications I'm pursuing, or even just my commitment to on-the-job learning and mentorship. Right?
Exactly. Show them that you're invested in your professional development
Okay.
and are serious about building a career in this industry. Now, before we move on to the next question, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher.
Oh, yes. The AI tool that can help with interview prep.
Yeah.
I actually downloaded the app after you mentioned it.
Did you really? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you tried the Copilot feature yet?
Not yet, but I'm intrigued.
It's amazing. So you can actually record yourself answering practice interview questions, and Copilot will analyze your video, providing feedback on your content, delivery, and even your body language.
Wow, it's like having a virtual interview coach.
Totally.
I'm definitely trying that out today.
You won't regret it.
Now, getting back to the interview, be ready for a question like, why should we hire you?
Ah, yes. This is your chance to summarize why you're the perfect fit.
Okay, so it's like an elevator pitch for myself,
Totally.
highlighting my unique value proposition.
Combine your skills, your experience, your passion, and tailor it to the specific company and position.
Right.
You could say something like, you should hire me because I'm highly motivated and detail-oriented with a proven track record of success in mention-relevant experience. I'm eager to contribute my skills and dedication to your team and help mention company goal or objective.
I like that. It's confident, concise, and it shows I've done my research.
Now, almost every interview ends with the same question.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
I know. It's important to ask questions even if they've covered a lot of ground.
Absolutely.
But what kind of questions should I ask?
Think about what you genuinely want to know about the role, the company culture, or the team you'd be working with.
Okay.
You could ask about career progression opportunities,
Right.
the company's approach to training and development, or even just the day-to-day work environment.
So things that show that I'm interested in more than just a paycheck.
Exactly. It's about showing that you're looking for a place where you can grow and thrive. Now, let's talk about a question that can be a bit tricky.
Okay.
What are your salary expectations?
Ugh, I hate this
I
question.
know it's tough.
How do I answer it without selling myself short or pricing myself out of the running?
Do your research.
Okay.
Look up industry standards for similar roles in your location.
Got it.
Websites like Glassdoor and Indeed can be helpful. Be prepared to give a range, not a specific number.
So I could say something like, based on my research and experience,
Hmm.
I'm seeking a salary in the range of insert range.
Exactly. And you can add that you're open to discussing compensation further based on the overall benefits package and opportunities for growth.
Okay, so research is key and flexibility is good. Got it.
Now remember that working as a rubber goods assembler involves a lot of hand-eye coordination.
Right.
You'll be working with small parts, maybe even delicate molds.
Yeah.
So dexterity is key.
Okay.
Think about how you can showcase that skill in your answers.
That's a great point. I wouldn't have thought about connecting dexterity to seemingly unrelated experiences. Maybe I could mention my experience with knitting or playing a musical instrument.
Exactly. It's all about showing how your skills translate to the demands of the role.
Okay, this is why I love digging into these resources. You find these hidden gems that you wouldn't think of on your own.
I know there's so much good stuff in there.
Now, before we move on to the next section, I want to kind of highlight one more time that the growth potential in this industry is looking pretty good,
Really good.
especially with the whole global rubber goods market
Right.
reaching $400 billion.
It's only going up from here.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've talked about a lot of what it takes to be a rubber goods assembler, from the skills needed to the potential career path. But now, let's talk about how to make a great impression in the interview itself.
You know, it's not just about what you say, it's also how you present yourself.
Oh, okay.
Nonverbal communication can make a big difference.
So you're talking about things like eye contact, a firm handshake, good posture,
Yeah.
the basics.
Exactly. You want to project confidence and enthusiasm even if you're nervous.
Right.
It shows that you're engaged and that you're taking the opportunity seriously.
Okay, got it. So confident handshake, check. What about attire? Should I dress up like I'm going to a fancy dinner?
You don't have to go that far, but business casual is usually a good choice for manufacturing interviews. Think neat and professional.
No need for the three-piece suit.
No.
Clean and presentable. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's talk about experience. What if I haven't worked as an assembler before?
That's where those transferable skills come in. So think about the tasks that you've done in other jobs, hobbies, or even volunteer work
Okay.
that demonstrate dexterity, attention to detail, following instructions, things like that.
So if I'm really good at knitting intricate patterns, I could talk about that to show my dexterity and my patience.
Absolutely. It's all about connecting the dots and showing how your unique background
Right.
makes you a strong candidate.
That's why I love digging into these resources.
Me too.
You find these hidden gems that you wouldn't think of on your own, right?
For sure.
Now, before we wrap things up, any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are getting ready for their rubber goods assembler interview?
Remember that confidence comes from preparation.
Okay.
So you've done the work, you've learned all the strategies.
Right.
Now it's just time to go out there and shine.
Believe in yourself, showcase your skills, and don't be afraid to let your personality come through. The rubber goods industry is waiting for you.
And if you need that extra edge, check out RoleCatcher. That AI feedback can really help you refine your answers.
It's like having a personal coach right in your pocket.
Totally.
All right, that wraps up our rubber goods assembler interview prep deep dive.
That was a good one.
Hope you feel ready to go out there and ace that interview.
Good luck. And remember to keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep reaching for your dreams.